Hi friends, in this video let us learn about inbreeding depression, factors that affect self-pollination, pollen-pistil interaction, artificial hybridization, and all this will come under sexual reproduction in flowering plants. So under sexual reproduction in flowering plants, today we are going to discuss about inbreeding depression, factors that affect self-pollination, pollen-pestil interaction, artificial hybridization. So first one, what is inbreeding depression? So inbreeding depression is a condition where the organism loses its potentiality to reproduce. It becomes unfit to reproduce. So in case of plants, due to continuous self-pollination, that is autogamy, so due to continuous self-pollination, thereby it results in a condition called inbreeding depression. Okay, so continuous self-pollination will lead to inbreeding depression. Inbreeding depression means the fitness to reproduce is lost. Okay, so that's about it. Now we'll see about factors that affect self-pollination. Okay, factors that prevent self-pollination. Okay, or you can also call it as devices that discourage self-pollination. So we're going to see about the various factors or devices that affect self-pollination. Number one, first thing is called synchronization. It is the pollen release and stigma receptivity. So there must be a kind of synchronization. That if that is not there, okay, if they are not synchronized, pollen release and stigma receptivity not synchronized, so that will discourage self-pollination. Okay. Second thing, position of the male and female parts, especially the stamen and the pistil. If they are at different positions, again it results in discouraging self-pollination. Okay, different positions of male and female reproductive part, that is stamen and the pistil. So that will affect self-pollination. Okay, and next one is pollen pistil interaction. That refers to incompatibility. Nothing but right pollen, wrong pollen. Okay, the stigma can recognize which is the right pollen. Right pollen in the sense pollen of the same flower of the same species. Okay, sometimes different pollens may come and contaminate. So the stigma can recognize which pollen is right, which pollen is wrong. That is called compatibility. So that kind of incompatibility will affect self-pollination, that is autogamy. Okay, that kind of uh, incompatibility will affect self-pollination, right? Okay, then that's about pollen pestil interaction. Okay, next. So these are all the various factors. Another thing, the plant, if it is a unisexual plant, that will also prevent self-pollination. Unisexual flowers will prevent self-pollination, right? Yes. So first we saw inbreeding depression, that is due to continuous self-pollination, a condition will arise that is called inbreeding depression, where the organism lose its capacity to reproduce. It becomes unfit. Secondly, factors that affect self-pollination. Under these factors, we have four factors or four devices that discourage self-pollination. One is the stigma receptivity and pollen release. They are not synchronized. Second one, position of the floral parts, namely the stamen and the pistil. If they are placed at distant location or at different places, then it will bring forth stop the self-pollination. Then incompatibility, that is the right pollen or the wrong pollen, and how the stigma will recognize the right pollen, Of course, that kind of recognition is made up of mediated through chemical components. So stigma can easily recognize which is correct and which is wrong. Okay, then comes unisexual flowers. So all these four factors will affect self-pollination. Yes. Now we come to the another heading topic called pollen pestle interaction. Pollen pestle interaction. We'll see that now. So this is the female part. Okay, you know that that is stigma. This is style, and this is ovary. Okay, you know that pollen grains will be seated here. All know that pollen tube will emerge from the germ pores present in the pollen grain. From the germ pore, the pollen tube will come out and it will travel through the style and it will reach the egg cell here. Okay, just I'm roughly doing, so it will come and reach. From here to here, that interaction is called pollen pistil interaction. The pollen grains, how it makes a tube, and that tube how it is traveling through the style and coming to the ovule through the micropylar end. That is called that pollen pistil interaction. And before that, you should know about the structure of pollen. So you know how it will look like. Okay, so at the time of shedding of pollen grain, it will have two cells. This is called the vegetative cell, and this one is called the generative cell. So generative cell will give rise to two male gametes or two male nuclei. Okay. So in the pollen tube, there will be two male nuclei. As the pollen tube travels, it will have two male nuclei. Okay. So it will pass through this style and it will enter the micropylar end and it will reach the ovule, the egg cell, and to reach that egg, the synergids and the filiform apparatus. In my previous video, I told you the filiform apparatus and the synergids will help the pollen tube to reach the egg cell, that is ovule. So that's about the pollen pistil interaction. The stigma has the power to recognize which is the right pollen or wrong pollen, and that kind of dialogue is brought about by the presence of chemical components in the pollen as well as in the stigma, right? So this is the pollen grain showing you the vegetative cell and the generative cell. Usually some of the flowers will shed the pollen grains at this two cell stage. Here the generative cell will give rise to two male nuclei. Okay, you know that the pollen grain lands on the stigma. It from that through the germ pores pollen tube comes. That pollen tube just moves through the style and reaches the ovule. Okay, the opening is micropylar end. Through that the pollen tube reaches. Right. To make an entry into the egg cell, the synergids and the filiform apparatus help in that process. Next, we come to the fourth topic, that is artificial hybridization. This artificial hybridization is done, number one, uh, to make sure that desired pollen grains are used in pollination. To make sure that desired pollen to make sure that desired pollen grains are used during pollination. Of course, this artificial hybridization is a major approach to crop improvement. So in case of crop improvement, it is done. It's a major approach. It's called artificial hybridization. Manually it's done. So the name artificial hybridization to ensure that desired pollens are used for pollination and to see that stigma, stigma is not contaminated. Stigma is not contaminated by unwanted pollen. Okay. Mainly for these two things, artificial hybridization is done. One, to see that desired pollen grains are used in pollination, and secondly, to see that whether stigma is not contaminated by different pollens. Okay. To achieve this, two techniques are there. One is emasculation. To achieve artificial hybridization, first technique is emasculation, where the anthers are removed. Anthers are removed in the flower bud condition using forceps before anthers dehisce. So, anthers are removed in flower bud condition using forceps before the anthers dehisce. So that is called emasculation, removal of anther. Okay. Then the flower will be emasculated. The anthers are cut. Okay. Now we are using the next technique called bagging. So in bagging, the emasculated flowers, the flowers in which anthers are cut, okay, that flower is covered by a butter paper, okay, and to see that the stigma is protected from contamination of unwanted pollens. So the protection is done by covering the emasculated flower with a butter paper, okay. So later on, when the stigma attains the receptivity, of course, the male pollen grains will be deposited and further events will take place. Okay, so these are the two techniques followed in artificial hybridization. So with that, we come to the end of this session. Thank you. Share and subscribe. Bye.